I think not having a racket in your hand when we've been on the court from age 10 all the way through college, or maybe even a little bit professionally, we're just used to playing with a racket in our hands. And if we want to do something about what's going on in a match, we step up to the line and maybe we go for our ace and do it, with the racket. But I think it was cool stepping onto the coaching side and having the racket taken out of your hands and put in somebody else's, and finding ways that kind of your game plan, your ideas can come to life in somebody else's hands. I mean, come making that transition, that was a really cool part of it. I think that in my first year or two, I really was kind of coaching everybody the same, and it was kind of like, rather than diving in and understanding them and where they came from, I kind of had my idea of how things should be, and everybody maybe should think about this way or this that way, rather than trying to understand exactly what makes each player unique and different, and how to get through to them and how to bring out their strengths. I'd say also in my first year or two, I was a little bit too result oriented, and maybe as good things were happening on the court, I would get too fired up. And as we kind of come to learn, when you get fired up, maybe there's an equal and opposite reaction where you come down. And I think learning to be somebody that's a little bit more steady, that's consistent, that's always pretty neutral throughout a match is pretty beneficial. So I think coming from the men's side to the women, it's a little bit different. Where on the men's side, maybe you have some shorter points, some quick serves, some bomb serves, some unreturned serves, and women, I really feel like you end up in a grind a lot more often, whether it's in a rally, whether it's just a long match. I think there's a lot more closer matches, a lot more, like I said, longer points from the baseline, and so I think really hitting on the mental side and managing emotions is a big difference between the men and the women. So walking in the door, walking into, women's college tennis straight out of college, I just felt, once you get, sometimes in men's, if you get an early break at 0-0, and you hold a break the whole set, 6-4 set, and that can happen, or one break happens at 3-all. Whereas on the women's side, I think that maybe if the level is similar, even if it's 4-0 in a set, no lead is exactly safe, because you're not going to just walk through a couple holds, 6-1 set, and be done. You got to know how to finish. The girls have to know how to finish, whether they're serving, returning, because odds are you're going to end up in some rallies. You're going to end up playing some points, and being able to be calm, not so up and down emotionally in those moments was a big difference coming over to the women's side. When it comes to managing the emotions for them, I think that's really where the being a little bit more neutral and being in it for the long haul, rather than, hey, living point by point, thinking about the big picture, and not only of one match, of, you're talking about a year at a time. I think that really gearing up for that can help you focus on you know getting better, improving, which takes some of the stress of winning right now out of the picture. Yeah, I think just at all times being conscious of what you're putting out towards your player, knowing that whether it's a big point that they won or a big point they lost, oftentimes their first look is over at you, and they're gonna reflect, you. And if you're calm, and if you can take it, if you can take the roller coaster of the match and handle it all the same, I think you got a good chance at them doing the same. I think that's definitely something that you have to be conscious about. Your players are going to be watching you, and while you definitely want to be somebody that can talk to them, you certainly can relate to them. It's important to keep in mind that this is a job, and you've got to be professional about it, just as you would be if you were in maybe a business job. I think that coming straight out of college and going into coaching, a lot of people are, the most natural question is, well, what's it like to coach guys or girls that are a similar age to you. Um, and people may look at that as a negative, but I, from the start, always looked at that as a positive, in the fact that I was somebody that could relate to the players, and I was somebody that had just been through similar things to what they were going through. So I think that the age factor, while you have to remember to be professional at all times, um, is really a place where you can make a difference. And I went through this 9 months ago. I was just in your shoes. I think that goes a long way in building up credibility with your team. Um,
Hmm.
and another thing I would say, just as you're first getting into it, is to soak up everything that you can. There's a lot of people with a lot of knowledge all around you, from whether it's your peers in coaching, whether it's your head coach, whether it's books out there that you're reading, or even a big one that I really feel like I benefited a lot from was other coaches in our athletic department. And sure, we're not talking about X's and O's of tennis per se, but we're talking about what it means to be a good coach and ways that we can improve as a coach. I found that was one that the other coaches around had some invaluable knowledge. My first year, I think that Jenny Mines at Alabama kind of welcomed me in with open arms, and she was really big on just being yourself, and obviously follow rules, follow guidelines, but don't overthink what it should be like. Just do what comes naturally to you. I think that's a good way for the players to see you're genuine, you're human, and hopefully they appreciate that about you. I think one thing that we're really trying to do, since the serve may not be as big, um, we definitely want to have some patterns that we can go to that still kind of keep our serve percent points one up enough, so we're able to have just a little bit of a swing in our favor. And obviously the same thing goes for some second serve returns, where you may be able to attack because you're not getting a kick up to your backhand on the return often. Having these set plays that you can go to, and that those are things that we're hammering on in practice, and we're sitting and we're getting things that we can rely on. So when we get to the 4-alls, the 5-alls in matches, we've run these same set patterns over and over. While if you watch a men's match and you watch a women's doubles match, they're going to be two totally different things. I think the same concepts hold true, where make first serves, serve up the tee, keep them guessing as to where you're going to go, steady on the returns, bring some pressure if you can. And one way that we've really found we've been able to get our girls over the hump of coming forward when they may be a little bit afraid, or it may be something that they're not used to doing, is by going back and watching video and just showing them the successes that they have on video, and they see themselves doing it, and then the next time out there, obviously they're a bit more likely to do it. There are a lot of other males that are in women's coaching. I think the best way to learn is to talk to those people. Talk to someone that's been doing it for 20 years. Talk to somebody that's had a lot of success doing it. I think that most times you'll find that those people are more than willing to share with somebody new.